Over the past few years, more and more books are being shaped not just by editors and publishers, but by social media. Book Talk decides the trends, influencers are getting book deals, and readers are becoming more and more critical of what goes viral. A few weeks ago, a controversy surrounding the influencer Hailey Pham sparked a much larger debate. Who gets to be an author? Can influencers be legitimate authors? In this video, I want to talk about how social media is changing publishing and what this means for readers, influencers, and authors going forward. I posted a video not too long ago predicting my upcoming bookish trends, and the final trend that I landed on was that more influencers will publish books, which I considered a good thing, as I believe that with more influence, the creative person will reap more rewards from their art. After thinking more deeply about it, I've changed my mind. Many influencers receive an immense amount of backlash after publishing their books. Not only is the quality of their writing questioned, but so is their right to be an author, period. A notable example of this is when content creator Hailey Pham sent out early copies of her romance book, Just Friends, and a video with a negative review went crazy viral. Many others opted in with their opinions, sparking a larger debate. Can influencers be authors? Should influencers be authors? At the beginning of this discussion, I took to X to get a general feel, because that's what you do on X. To get a general feel for the situation and asking writing communities that I'm in what they thought about it. And here are two responses that I received. She is not an author. She is an influencer who published a book because it fits her brand, so I have no reason to read it. Starting with the name of a book, it's boring as don't care what's inside. It's neither interesting nor intriguing, and definitely not worth mentioning. Imagine spending months on a book and deciding that this nonsense is a perfect title. I'd like to repeat that these reviews were posted before even reading the book. Like, the book hadn't even come out yet. And only a very small number of people had read it. The original video that went viral actually, I think, had a pretty good critique in it. It uses examples to demonstrate what the creator describes as bad writing. She cites specific situations in the plot that lack development, as well as character flaws that are really hard to overcome. One such situation is a character between the main character and the main love interest where they're having an important conversation about the relationship the male main character has with their father and how it's been hard lately. And the female main character apparently responds with something along the lines of, well, at least you have a situation to struggle with. Although many people thought that this creator's opinion was harsh, she did have evidence to back up her claims and explained her opinion with examples. While on the other hand, the people who replied to my tweet were literally judging a book by its cover and entirely discrediting influencers who want to publish books, seemingly without even having read the book. This raises an uncomfortable truth. Not all criticism is equal. Thoughtful critique requires engagement with the work itself. One big concern that traditional authors have against these influencers is if they're stealing away book deals from traditional authors. So people who have worked their whole life to write and they then go on querying, are these influencers who have a following for some other skill stealing away these book deals? The reality is, in fact, much more complicated than we think. Agents are bombarded with hundreds of queries every day. The recent addition of AI into the world most likely makes that worse. It is increasingly challenging for writers to get deals directly through queries, while authors still have the opportunity to get recognized by publishers through other means like journals, writing competitions. Many people are increasingly moving towards gaining a following and gaining traction online to attract the attention of publishers. Having a built-in audience as a writer is undeniably attractive to publishers. We all know why. Furthermore, as I mentioned in my last video, content creators have the opportunity to make a lot of money. In our shifting world where the underdog's voice is increasingly coming to the surface, they may be able to own more of the work and essentially reap more rewards from their art. I think it's important to note in this debate that book publishing is essentially a dying art form. In a video on his Vlogbrother's channel called "Is Book Publishing Dying? An Author's Perspective?", John Green states, the individual video game Call of Duty Black Ops 6 sold more copies than all books for adults combined in the United States in 2024. About 30% of books published by major publishers sell fewer than 1,000 copies. The vast majority, around 90%, sell fewer than 10,000 copies. I mean, the best-selling book of 2024 sold about 1.6 million copies. For context, the best-selling movie of the year sold about 80 million theater seats, and that's a business that is purported to be in structural decline. The business of book publishing is shrinking, and with a shrinking number of sales come a shrinking number of deals. This can mean either two things. A, that influencers are in fact taking away deals from authors, and following that idea means there's a finite number of deals that are possible out there. But it can also mean influencers are attracting more people to buy their books, and more money in the publishing industry means more money for all types of books. With that being said, success in publishing relies on many unknown factors. Even veteran editors and publishers won't make the right choices on which books to publish. As a very relevant example of this, many major celebrities like Billie Eilish and Justin Timberlake have had underwhelming book sales. In May 2024, Billie Eilish published her self-titled memoir, which sold around 64,000 hardcover copies till late May 2021. And coming from somebody who at the time had 90 million followers, those numbers were very underwhelming. She currently has 125 million followers, and she got a $1 million advance, which is an insane advance, making the initial sales a disappointment compared to the investment. Justin Timberlake's autobiographical book, which was released in 2018, sold about 100,000 copies in the first 3 years, which is a relatively modest number compared to the millions and millions of albums he sells. In these cases, massive followings didn't secure the bag. They did not produce the desired results. This begs the question, what are the desired results? What is success in publishing? What does success even really mean? A successful book can mean many different things. Are you looking for technical excellence, emotional impact, or are you looking for commercial success? To be commercially successful, far more matters than technical writing skill. You don't need a mastery of the language like you might think, but you need to write books that people are compelled to move the next page, that they're compelled to keep reading. Writing a book like that is a different skill than a book that reflects technical mastery. And an example of this that I hate to bring up, but Colleen Hoover, she is an extremely commercially successful author, but is often criticized for the quality of her prose. Many readers describe her book as poorly written, filled with cliches, and that she handles extremely sensitive topics inappropriately. These ideas are generally accepted among critics, yet Simon & Schuster came out by saying that It Ends With Us sold 10 million copies, and she sold 35 million books globally. No matter what you think about Colleen Hoover, she is getting that bag, and readers are coming back for the next page, and they just keep on turning those pages. Plot, writing to market, anticipating trends, and knowing how to market yourself either to readers or to publishers are all part of what makes a commercially successful book. Luck is also always a factor in creative work, but typically people who are lucky have put a lot of work behind them as well. My point with saying this is that even if Haley Pham or the next book talk influencer gets a publishing deal, writes a book, writes a good book, has $1 million marketing budget, it doesn't mean that that book will succeed. I want to move away from publishing only and talk about what it actually means to be an influencer in this space who wants a publishing deal, if that makes sense. If you've spent years and years building an audience online, critiquing books, there are some that you'll evidently speak negatively about. And then if you later go on to publish a book, now there's evergreen evidence of you speaking negatively about your fellow peers. An example of this is in 2020, Simu Liu, he got casted in a movie with Mark Wahlberg, but he had to go back and delete a tweet from 2005 where he criticized Mark Wahlberg, and it made it very awkward because now he was working for him. At the time of the tweet, Simu Liu wasn't a household name, and he honestly probably never thought that he would be, but it is an example of the long-term consequences of public critique. Critiquing a book and writing a book are two very different things. Just because you can critique one doesn't mean you can write one. I would think that influencers often begin their journey online critiquing books without fully understanding how challenging it is to write a manuscript and to write like a 300 to 500 page novel. A YouTuber that I personally love, Uncarly, has talked about this, where she started her channel critiquing books and talking about books, making book content, and has since come out saying that she has stopped making book talk content. She realized how challenging it was to write a book, and out of respect, just moved away from criticizing books. Now that influencers are publishing books, they open themselves up to the criticism that they were once giving to others. They may want to ask themselves, was I fair in my critique? Was I well researched? Do I understand the craft? With a deeper understanding of how difficult the craft really is, they may want to rethink some of the things that they've said. The critique versus doer debate is something that often appears on social media. Many respected film, music, or food critiques have never practiced the art that they are critiquing, but they have a deep understanding of the craft. Because critiquing and doing are very different things. I'm not saying you need to be a published author to meaningfully critique a book, but as we've said that they're two different skills, if you're building an audience on book critiques, you're not building an audience on your storytelling abilities. Influencers and content creators might want to ask themselves, am I building a following to leverage it to publishers or to make a living creatively? If your goal is leverage, you're kind of under the assumption that because people like your critiques, they'll like your writing style. But critique videos are not a good measure of your storytelling abilities, right? Those are two very different skills. If your goal is creative fulfillment, then you might want to ask yourself if that fulfillment lies in storytelling or if that fulfillment actually does lie in critiques. I wanted to bring up one more idea, and that is a case study of Jack Edwards. I'm sure if you're watching me, you know Jack Edwards. So Jack Edwards has recently made several career moves. He's widely known for his commentary, his book criticism, and videos like reading all the books celebrity mentioned. He has now pivoted into hosting a book club and a podcast where he gets to interview celebrities. He was also recently hired by Esquire as a literary editor, and he is often praised in more traditional media for his critiquing abilities. This is by no means a hate comment towards Jack. I love him. I think he has a fantastic career ahead of him, and I'm very excited. But I did want to bring this up because he used to mention writing his own book. It was a historical fiction book. He would mention it by doing writing vlogs. He would talk about the books he was reading to research his book, authors that he wanted to study. And as an avid viewer of his, I haven't heard him mention this in like at least a year. He might totally be deep in the editing process. Who knows, his book might come out right after I upload this video. But my question is, if he's now making a living from his book criticism, and if that is taking away from his ability to publish his own book, it raises the question if becoming a book critic always translates to becoming an author. Critiquing books is not the same as storytelling. It is a valuable skill that all readers should be able to do, but it's not the same. My point here is that the issue with content creators becoming publishers is not that they're stealing books away from authors, it's that they're positioning themselves incorrectly. If you want to be a storyteller, tell stories. Don't just give opinions. Writing and storytelling must come first before content if you want to be an author. They might want to take a moment to reflect on their contribution to the literary landscape. Are your critiques fair? Are they meaningful and detailed? You don't want to pull a Simu Liu and potentially lose opportunities because of a harsh critique you wrote 10 years earlier. Personally, as someone who got into creating content online about books, to get into the world of storytelling and writing, I'm going to shift my content to better reflect my interest of storytelling and not just critiquing, prioritizing creative writing alongside commentary and not just commentary. If you're still here at the end of the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I very much appreciate that you watched all of it. Thank you.